What time is it? It must be sports time with Halftime Howie.
Welcome back to Sports Time with Halftime Howie, another Monday night edition. The topic tonight is boxing. A nice local boxer named Michael Corleone is going to be talking about his career, and the crew of Michael Corleone will be here to talk about why he needs an edge and why they've helped him. Dr. Tom Ferraro and Dr. Marty Lesson, we're going to be talking to Michael Corleone, a nice local boxing star on the rise. But right now we're going to take a break. Dr. Marty Lesson will talk about sports injuries, and after the break, we'll meet Michael Corleone and his crew. Coming up after the break. We are back. Wow. All right, now we're going to introduce the boxer, Michael Corleone. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Howie.
And in boxing, folks, you need an edge. Let's meet Michael's sports psychologist, Dr. Tom Ferraro. Dr. Tom, how are you?
Nice to see you again, Howie.
And you just saw him on the tape, the chiropractor who adjusts Michael before every match, Dr. Marty Lesson. Dr. Marty, how are you?
How you doing, Howie?
Okay. Michael, you were a struggling boxer. Your career was at the crossroads. And I take a little credit. I got Dr. Tom Ferraro and Dr. Marty Lesson involved in your career. How have they helped you get to the next level?
On the physical aspects, I had suffered from back pains and neck pains. You put your body through a lot of abuse. It needs somebody to take care of it. Marty Lesson has been exceptional. I wouldn't think about training or fighting without Marty now. Mentally, fighting is both mental and physical. If you're not there mentally, it doesn't matter how physically prepared you are. Mentally, Tom gives me that edge.
Tom, you've worked with a lot of people, but what was it like working with Michael, and how have you seen the difference in the approach to Michael's boxing career?
Well, it's interesting working with a boxer. My initial feelings about working with boxers would be, well, what can a sports psychologist do to help a boxing career? And what I've found is that it takes, there's a lot of mental strategies involved in training and mental strategizing in terms of approaching a fight. He has a title fight coming up, and we've spent a considerable amount of time simply sitting and talking about the most appropriate way to structure his fight. And so it's been very interesting for me.
Dr. Tom, I was there the night where Michael fought. Dr. Marty Lesson was there. But as a sports fan and a sports psychologist, what was your first reaction being at a boxing match? I saw your reaction. You just were in awe of the whole sport. Talk about your first experience being at a live boxing match.
Seeing a live boxing match, it was very interesting. First of all, when I walked in, it was, I think, at Hop Hog, I walked and I met one boxer who had just finished fighting. And he had a 2-inch gap cut on his forehead, and it was kind of fairly well treated, and he was ignoring that and kind of figuring out what he has to do. To me, to see, when I saw fighting for the first time, it was in a sense, a brutal game, and at the same time, a very, very mental game. I remember watching the boxers and the amount of attention and alertness that's required during a fight so that they don't get hurt or injured. It struck me as quite amazing. It's also, it's a violent game, and in between the rounds, when you saw the women kind of prancing around on the stage,
That's what you liked.
It was also very interesting to see raw aggression for 3 minutes and raw sexuality for 1 minute, and I thought that was an amazing kind of blend.
Okay. Dr. Marty, you treat overweight, middleweight, fat guys like me who need to lose a few pounds in your office. But what's the difference when you adjust a professional boxer right before they enter into combat in the middle of the ring?
Well, let me tell you, when I first met Michael, I saw him fighting, and he happened to have lost that first fight. And when I was watching him fight, his shoulder was dropping. I'm a kinesiologist. I knew that he had a weak latissimus dorsi, a weak serratus anterior, and a weak pectoralis. So when I met him at a radio show, I made Michael Corleone an offer he couldn't refuse. I told him that if he used me as his chiropractor, I could balance him out, and I guarantee he'd start winning. Well, now that Michael's in perfect balanced shape, and he really is, to adjust someone like Michael is easy because everything falls in place just like it's supposed to. you just put your hands on him and everything goes right into place. It's going to go out of place because of the physical abuse he puts himself through with boxing, but the average person who comes into your office, their muscles are out of shape, they're not balanced, you have to really work, and the bones slip out of place as soon as they walk out because they're out of balance. Someone like Michael is so balanced, it's easy to realign the vertebra, and it's easy for it to stay in place, and he rehabilitates faster.
Michael, tell the fans out there, you grew up here in Belmore, Long Island. How did you get involved in boxing, and where has your career gone from the beginning to right now?
Howie, I started boxing by accident. I was very much into athletics, running, jogging, just to stay in shape for my own personal self. I was running a clothing factory down in Puerto Rico. My family's in the clothing business. And they had a festival, much like we have the San Gennaro Feast here in New York. They have a festival every year. It lasts about 1 week long. And they had an outdoor boxing event going on. And I volunteered my services against a kid who was a Puerto Rican amateur champion. Nobody wanted to fight him, so I said, I'd give it a try. Well, I won that fight by second round TKO. The opponent had quit. And some people came up to me and asked me if I'd be interested in continuing this, and I did, and 4 years later, here I am.
Michael, boxing is unlike any other sport because you can't, in basketball, baseball, you can rely on teammates. In boxing, it's one-on-one combat. Talk about what goes through your mind when I always wondered, what goes through your mind when you walk down the aisle, enter into the ring? What's your head at?
It's hard to say, Howie. You get into a zone.
Do you hate the opponent?
No, I've never had that happen to me where I dislike my opponent. I believe in sportsmanship, good sportsmanship. Once we're in there for however long that fight lasts, he is my enemy. When the fight is over, he's my friend. We hug, we go out and we'll have a cup of coffee together. We're friends. But during the time of the fight, it's combat.
Dr. Tom Ferrero, I feel in sports, that's one of the most amazing phenomenons. Guys are kicking the crap out of each other for 12 minutes, killing each other, blooding each other, Mortal Kombat, and then when the bell rings, they hug, they kiss, they make up. It's phenomenal to watch that.
It is kind of interesting to see that. One way to look at it is perhaps they are so aggressive and so masculine and so powerful during the fight that they're comfortable enough with affection after the fight, and so you notice that. But I think it's an interesting question when you ask what he thinks about going into the ring, and Michael mentioned he's in the zone. I think that great athletes tend to get into the zone, and really what that means is that they are able to screen out stimuli. They selectively focus on what they need to focus on. They become highly concentrated. He has a title fight coming up in about 5 days now, and I can see already that he's beginning to enter a zone, which is very good news. He's more focused, he's more calm, and more intense, and that is what you call a zone, and that is why the mind is very important for great athletes. They're able to screen out extraneous stimuli and put all of their energy and all of their thoughts into training and then specifically into the fight itself.
I think one of the key in any sport is you have to have a belief, you have to have confidence. Marty, you spent a lot of time with Michael Corleone. Have you noticed a more confident personality? Does he believe in himself more so than, let's say, a year ago?
Oh, definitely. When I first met him, he was pretty confident, but nothing compared to the way he is now. And the difference is, look how he's fighting. I've been to his last couple of fights, and he's unstoppable.
Michael, was there doubt a year ago, be honest, when you fought certain fights, did you totally believe in yourself, or did you have self-doubt?
I always believed in myself, but my team, like you had mentioned, it's an individual sport, but you still have a team. I have my trainers, I have my chiropractor, I have the person who works on my mind. That is a team. Without those people, I would be unprepared. Once I step into that ring, I can only rely on myself, but it's up to them to get me to be prepared.
You lose a fight to somebody, and you have a rematch. Is that a personal thing? I mean, when beats you, because it happened in your career. I think of Frank Duarte.
Yes.
Is that when you go for the rematch? Is it a personal thing that you want to take back something he took from you?
Absolutely, absolutely. In my rematch with Duarte, I believe you were there. Not only did I beat him decisively, I ended his career. He retired after that. He had left with a broken eardrum, broken nose, and I think he knocked out a tooth. But so for me, then it becomes a personal thing. Prior to that, it's not personal. You know, may the better man win. I try to show good sportsmanlike conduct.
Okay, we have to take a break. We're with Michael Corleone boxer, Dr. Tom Ferraro, Dr. Marty Lesson. And speaking of boxing and rematches, we'll ask our panel of boxing experts, can Mike Tyson win his rematch with Evander Holyfield? More boxing coming up after Dr. Marty Lesson. More fun after the break.
Hi, I'm Dr. Marty. Tonight we have Michael Corleone. Michael Corleone is fighting on April 5th for the IBO World Champion Junior Welterweight title. Tonight Michael's going to demonstrate an intense stomach routine. Michael, you want to start? The first thing he's going to do is a routine that's going to work to get the obliques. When Michael's my boxing instructor, when we do this together, we do 30 reps. Then after that, we hold our legs for 10 seconds, keeping our head up, and that's a pretty intense routine for the abdominal muscles. Okay, then you bring your legs in, spread them, okay, and we do 30 reps of this. And this is kind of intense. After we do that, we hold our legs out again for 10 seconds. This is another exercise to get the obliques. And these are all exercises you can do at home. The benefit of doing a stomach routine is when you strengthen your abdominal muscles, it takes the pressure off the lower back. All right, we hold that for 10 seconds again. Okay. We'll incorporate crunches into this routine also. When you do this, you really want to squeeze it at the top, and you want to breathe out when you're doing the crunch to make sure you're breathing properly and you're getting the full benefit of the exercise. Okay, after we do 30 of those, we put our legs out again. And this looks kind of easy. Michael's been doing this for years, but it's much harder than it appears. Another one that we do is we lift our legs straight up in the air and do like a scissor routine. We do 30 reps of each. And in between each routine, we hold our legs out for 10 seconds. And it's very important to keep your head up when you're doing this. At the beginning, if you're getting pain, you can let your head down, but we prefer that you keep it up. Okay, then we lift our legs straight up in the air, Michael, and he kind of crunches up. You can do a stomach routine every single day, and when you're doing it, it should burn. Michael, that's okay. Why don't you stand up and show them what your stomach looks like? And this could be you. With a little bit of hard work, you can look like Michael.
Welcome back to Sports Time with Halftime Howie. And folks, this is the amazement of television. Why, we have a great director, Shari Schultz. Look at, all of a sudden, Michael's got his clothes back in a matter of seconds. It's amazing what we can do here at Cablevision. Simply amazing. Michael, you got your clothes on. Amazing. In a matter of seconds. Hey, Michael, how does someone get a body like that? You must really work hard to get a body like that.
It becomes a lifestyle. Eating right, training hard, getting the proper rest, and mentally being focused. Mentally, you really need the mental standpoint. You need to have relax, get rid of all your frustration. I do a lot of running, which helps me ease my mind Anytime I have a problem or I have something on my mind, I go out and I run for about a half hour.
Michael, you mentioned before that you got a good crew in your corner, Dr. Tom Ferraro, Dr. Marty Lesson. Mike Tyson has a very questionable crew in his corner, and there's a lot of talk that, well, now he's got a new trainer, Richie Giacchetti. He changes back and forth. But as a boxer, you know, everyone is interested in Tyson and Holyfield because it was an upset. No one expected Holyfield to beat Tyson. But as we approach the rematch, do you feel Tyson can get his head together and beat Holyfield?
That's the question. Is Mike Tyson mentally prepared? A mentally prepared Mike Tyson is unstoppable. I don't care who you put in that ring, whether it be Holyfield, Douglas, or Riddick Bowe, anybody. Nobody can beat Mike Tyson when he's mentally prepared. My recommendation for Tyson would be to go back to Kevin Rooney.
That's not going to happen. They've been suing each other in court.
Unfortunately.
But May 3rd, do you feel Tyson will beat Holyfield?
We'll know May 3rd. I don't know his mental standpoint. Physically, he should be able to beat Holyfield. Everybody who saw Holyfield fight Bobby Ches, who is nothing but a blown-up middleweight, he looked very lethargic. You know, he didn't look like he would have stood around against Tyson.
Dr. Tom Ferraro, Mike Tyson, from a psychological standpoint, probably one of the most fascinating sports people in the area of sports. I mean, Tyson is a fascinating personality.
Yeah, and it's a good question whether he'll do well or not. It may be a little-known fact that Mike Tyson, at the beginning of his career, used a sports psychologist, had also a customato with him, so he had a lot of structure and a lot of familiar support that helped a great deal. He was one of the first important boxers to use hypnosis in the ring, and to very good effect. And I don't believe that in the recent years he's been using a sports psychologist.
Dr. Marty, you're skeptical. You don't think Tyson can make the adjustments against Holyfield. Isn't that true?
Exactly right. Let me tell you something about boxing. I've been taking some boxing lessons with Michael, and you know what I've learned? I've learned that you have to be pretty smart to be a boxer. It's not just some guy getting up there and hitting. You have to be standing right, you have to be jabbing right, you have to be moving properly, doing the fundamentals. In addition, you have to do the right fundamentals while you're being hit in the face. Evander Holyfield just outsmarted Tyson. He did all the fundamentals correctly. Tyson was not mentally ready. If Evander fights the same type of fight again, I don't think there's any way in the world that Mike Tyson's going to beat him. Evander just hit him and just held on to him, didn't give Tyson a chance to hit him back, and I think you're going to see Evander beat him again.
Mike, the thing about Tyson is that, and how true of it as a boxer is this, is that I feel most of his opponents that he beat, especially in the first or second round, were beat before they got in the ring. They were physically, they were intimidated. I mean,
Absolutely.
They just one shot and down they went.
Absolutely.
Holyfield, you can't intimidate. And it's like the bully in the schoolyard. The bully, when he gets punched back,
what
he's
you
not
have
so
to ask
tough.
yourself is, why were they intimidated? They were intimidated because Tyson left a trail of opponents on the deck.
But there was an aura of invincibility. Holyfield shot right through that.
He created that.
Yeah, but Holyfield
Wasn't a false...
But Holyfield was not intimidated, and you get the feeling that unless Tyson makes the adjustments, Holyfield is going to stand right up to him again and beat him again.
What people don't realize about Mike Tyson, as powerful as he is, defensively, he is the best heavyweight we've ever had. Second to Muhammad Ali. You got to remember, Tyson's 5'10". Most of his opponents are 6'2", 6'3", maybe even better. That's a long reach that he has to make up for. If you're jabbing and you're not hitting your opponents because he's defensively sound, he's slipping those punches, and then he comes in. He has not been doing that as of late. He's had a Mickey Mouse crew as far as his training team, and he got away from the fundamentals that made him the star that he is.
How important is it to get that emotional edge over your opponent before you go into the ring? Can you psych out an opponent? Is there things you can do to get that edge against an opponent?
Each opponent would be different. Some fighters like to look a person dead in the eye. Other fighters don't like to look their opponent in the eye. Your opponent may say, well, he didn't look at me, so therefore I got him. Or, oh, he thinks he's going to scare me with that look. So each person is different. And you can't go with one type of look all the time. it's important to get that edge any way you can. Every little thing helps.
I notice sometimes with Michael in fighting, he has an anger. Do you have to have like an anger and a meanness, in your opinion, being a sports psychologist when you enter the ring? Because let's face it, boxing is a rough sport, and only the strong survive.
Obviously, you have to have a certain amount of aggression, but probably more importantly, you have to have the ability to control your anger, to control all of your emotions, to control your anxiety, and to control your feeling states. And to the extent that you're able to control that aggression and the anger, it's channeled into the zone, it's channeled more importantly into training. The amount of discipline that it takes to be a champion boxer is really quite amazing. Nutritionally, dietarily, exercising every day, watching yourself, and that kind of control is really what makes or breaks any given match. He'll win or he'll lose depending upon that kind of emotional control during training.
Michael, what defines a great boxer? Like, I know a guy that one of my biggest favorites, a guy you don't like too much, the golden boy, Oscar De La Hoya. I just think he's got a confidence, and he's just so quick. But is it with De La Hoya just a talent, he's just so quick, or how hard does he really work? What defines the great boxer like De La Hoya?
De La Hoya works extremely hard at his craft, and that's what boxing is. It's a craft. You have to take away from, we're so used to only knowing about the heavyweights, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield. Those guys are not the best pound for pound. Take a look at the lighter weights. Those are the guys who really know their
Roy
craft.
Jones, Pernell Whitaker.
Exactly. Those are two people, I mean, I couldn't think of two better fighters to talk about. Those are guys that have a craft. They're actually artists painting in the ring. You know, boxing is more than just me hit you, you hit me, and whoever stands at the end is the winner. It's a whole lot more into it. There's a strategy involved.
And I think a big part of it, you've been working out with Kevin Kelly, a champion boxer. How important is it to work out with great fighters like a Kevin Kelly?
You want to be the best, you got to work with the best. Kevin Kelly, in his division, and possibly pound for pound in the world, is definitely...
He's a WBO champion.
He's the WBU featherweight champion. That's 130 pounds for those who are not familiar with the weight classes. He is a pure artist. He can fight you from the left-handed stance and the right-handed stance. He can do it all. He's got speed, he's got power. I'm 150 pounds, my natural body walk-around weight. When you can get in there with a guy who's 20, 30 pounds heavier than you and still hold your own, you know that you're doing something right. He's a pure artist. So when I'm in there with him, I know that I'm in there with someone that's better than most of my opponents.
Dr. Marty, we were talking about the break. You compared Michael to Rocky. Tell us a little about that story. It's a good story.
Well, here's what we have on Long Island, a real-life Rocky story. We have Michael Corleone. There becomes a vacancy in the world champion IBO junior welterweight division. They give Michael a chance. Michael's a good fighter, but the fellow who gave him the chance didn't really think that Michael could beat him. Well, Michael teamed up with Kevin Kelly's team, and Michael's taking it real seriously, and Michael's getting really good. He's been scattered by the other side, and they tried to back out of the fight, but he's under contract. They won't let him out of the fight. It looks now like there's a real good chance that Michael's going to win this fight, and no one expected that he would.
So, Michael Corleone, how good can you be, and how good will you become?
I see the sky as the limit. I don't see anybody being able to match my power or my aggressiveness. And now that I've teamed up with Dr. Tom Ferrara and Marty Lesson and Kevin Kelly and Joe Davis and Phil Borgia, who are my trainers, I see my skills are improving mentally and physically. I see nothing stopping me.
The only knock I heard about your last couple of years is that you didn't have the focus. Is the focus there now?
The focus is now here. I have a great manager, Andrew Parada. I'm the first fighter he's ever managed. And so we're kind of feeling out the waters together. And he's giving me everything that I need. Now I don't have to worry about. Most fighters see Mike Tyson, most fans see Mike Tyson, he gets 40 million, 50 million for a fight. The rest of us aren't getting that. We're getting peanuts.
Oh.
So therefore we have to work.
So we can expect big things from Michael Corleone.
Absolutely.
All right, we've come to the end of the show. I want to thank Michael Corleone, a boxer to watch out for, Dr. Tom Ferrara, sports psychologist, and Dr. Marty Lesson, sports chiropractor. And let me wrap with this. My name is Halftime. I want to thank you for your time. Please join us next Monday night for another edition of Sports Time with Halftime. But at this time, we are out of time. See you next Monday!
The preceding program has been a public access presentation. The views and opinions expressed on the program are those of the program's producers and/or those of the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Cablevision or of Telecare.